The science of Derby, the science of Derby. Let's learn something new.
Science of Derby. I love that song. Hey, so it's a beautiful Saturday evening in France, and I thought it'd be a great day to change my cushions. What the heck are cushions, you might be asking, if you're not a gearhead? And I'm going to tell you. They are part of your plates, an important part of your plates. You may know what plates are, but just in case, they are the things that hold your wheels onto your skates. This big metal part right here. I have one right here that I recently broke. This is a plate. It's made up of a couple of parts. This part here where the wheels attach looks like a T. This is your truck. And you put the wheels on there. The kingpin, this big giant pin right here, holds it onto your plate proper, this big long metal part here, and in between this assembly here, kind of surrounding your kingpin, are your cushions. These are these squishy silicone or plasticky polyurethane things that are very squishy and cushiony and cushion all your weight. This would be your truck that holds the wheels on, that T part, kingpin, cushions, plate. We're just about ready to get started here. So before we actually get to replacing the cushions, let's talk a little bit more about these plates. Here you see the kingpin, the cushions, the truck, as we talked about. Now, it pivots around that kingpin, but it also has this other kind of lesser trochanter of a truck that plugs into your plate. Conveniently, I broke these roll line plates so we can see it plugs in right here. And right where it connects, there's a little cup. And normally inside there we have what's called a pivot cup. Most newer skaters don't know what that is until there's brakes and then their skates are all wonky and someone tells them they need to replace their pivot cup. It goes in there, it basically cushions that connection between that piece of the truck that plugs into the plate that allows it to pivot. Now, there are two main things that govern the action of your plates while you're skating. That is the angle of the truck. So the angle this kingpin makes here and I actually got my false square. I don't know why it's called a false square, but that's what they call it, to measure the angle of these killer plates from roll line, just for fun. And I'm gonna take the angle here. Let's see, I can put this over here. And we are sitting at about, this looks like a 16-degree angle. So from the straight, this kingpin on these plates are at a 16-degree angle. And when you buy plates, you can choose the angle. A lot of blockers for a while, I don't know if they still are, but we're skating on Avengers, which were 45-degree angle. So that's quite an intense angle from the straight. The second way trucks will affect your action or how things feel while you're skating is by the tightness of your kingpin. And so this determines how much play your trucks will have when you're leaning your weight side to side. And so a lot of skaters, they'll get brand new skates. When they're first starting, it'll be super loose or super tight, and probably your coach at some point will come over and say, hey, you should loosen your trucks or tighten your trucks. What they mean is to take your skate tool and tighten this or loosen this. And roll lines have this very satisfying click. I don't know if you can hear that. Let's see. So you can count how many clicks you have as you're tightening or loosening your trucks. If you're new to gear and messing with your setup, you might be wondering, how tight do I make my trucks? How loose do I make them? Sadly, it's very personal, but I will give you this one tip. Keep all 4 of your kingpins about the same tightness. With trucks like these ones with a nice satisfying click, it's very easy. You set them up, you tighten until they're really just at the beginning of their tightness, they're all the same, and then you just count the clicks. If you put 5 clicks on one, then you put 5 clicks on all the rest, test them out. If it's too loose, put a few more clicks on, do the same for all of them. If you don't have a clicky system, it's very simple. You just count how many rotations. So maybe add a quarter turn or a half turn at a time, and do the same for all your trucks. That way your setup at least is consistent, loose or tight. I don't know that many people, for example, that would really want to have a super loose back truck or a super tight front truck, and basically you want your setup to be the same. If you've got a different way to go about things and you like having your trucks all different tightnesses, I'd love to know. Put them in the comments and let me and everyone else know how you do it. So I've made a drawing here to make it just a little bit clearer what's happening. When you lean your weight to the left on your right hand skate, you see how the wheels are going to turn inwards. And so that's going to allow your skates to make a circle towards the inside. And this is what's going to give you your action and your agility to move around the track. So you might be wondering, what's the best tightness or looseness of my kingpins? What's the best kind of cushions to skate with? Unfortunately, like most gear questions, the answer is it's up to you. It's up to your personal style and choice and what feels right for your body. But I do have a few tips. I'm a tall person, I'm pretty heavy, and since I've started skating, and I jam, so those three things for me mean I use very hard cushions and I keep my whole setup quite tight, so my kingpins are really tight. This gives me a lot of reactivity. So that means if I put a little bit of pressure into the ground, that's all going to translate into speed or movement. Whereas if your trucks are a little loose, or you've got squishier things in your setup, that's going to give a little bit more give. That means more of my energy is going to go around to turning me in a circle instead of driving me forward. And so again, that's a really personal choice. If you're blocking most of the time, you probably want a little bit more action, a little bit more agility moving back and forth. So you want your power to go into cutting back and forth rather than directly into speed and power. That's why so many blockers skate on 45-degree angle plates. Though I've heard that's changing, so it's really up to you. Anyway, I've been skating on very hard cushions for at least 10 years. And I thought for the new season, why not put on these softer cushions? They're usually a different color for each brand. See, these are kind of a blue and a solid gray. So last couple weeks ago, I put these on just to see how they would be. And I hated them. They were way too mushy and squishy. I don't know where all my power and my reactivity went. I was sliding all over the place. It was not a good scene. So I am going to change them back for you live here on camera. Just a little side note. I really do encourage you to try different setups, especially if you have a few months off or kind of a downtime in your league. It didn't work out for me this time, but it's always great to try something new, to push your comfort zone a little bit, because it's the only way you can figure out what works for you. Lower your toe stops, raise your toe stops, tighten up your trucks. Sometimes you'll find you hate it, so then you just put it back the way it was. Both tightening or loosening your kingpins or changing your cushions will affect the same thing in your skates, and that is the action of how much the trucks turn based on the weight you're putting in. However, they're not exactly the same. These cushions really do act like cushions. They're really the squishy thing. So if you're jumping, you are going to notice a little bit of difference when you're landing, when you've got those cushions, or as you push. You can have the same kind of overall tightness, but with softer cushions, you're going to feel yourself just having that bit of cushion absorbing a bit of your energy as you push. And that's a good thing. If you were just skating on pure metal, it would be a very difficult situation. Loosening your kingpin's really just going to give you more angle in your trucks as you lean to one side or the other. Changing your cushions is going to kind of squish into that same action. Personal choice. Try a few different cushions out and you'll see what I mean. All right, so let's do this. I'm literally doing this so I can skate tomorrow on my hard cushions. Now, roll line trucks have two things you have to do. One, you have to loosen this screw off here. Most trucks actually don't have this extra piece. You just have to do the kingpin part, but we're going to loosen this screw, not string. Then take your truck tool and loosen off that kingpin. Got this little cap here. Now, you can maneuver your truck up, and we've lost it, but there you have it. Here is your truck liberated in all its glory from the kingpin. You can see this ball, this metal ball on this axle is what feeds into that pivot cup. There. We're gonna leave that pivot cup in there. We love pivot cups. Take the second cushion out. You'll notice that there's two different sizes of cushion, kind of a skinnier one that goes on top and this fatter one. You'll also notice these fat ones on the bottom are tapered at one end. So make sure you're putting them in the right orientation. Just follow whatever you got with your skate. So I'm gonna replace this blue one with these harder, transparent ones. And I just replace them just as they came. I'm gonna make sure my pivot cup's in there. Place my truck there. Take this other nice cushion, stick it on top. You can really see how those cushions hug both sides of this metal part of the truck. That's what provides that nice, wonderful squish. We've got this little cap, goes on top. On roll lines, you gotta line it up into the groove. Got this nut, which is gonna be my tightening apparatus. Tighten that up a little bit. And then screw this on. And then repeat that for all four. Take off the screw. Take off the nut. Cap. So small note, I don't think I mentioned the sides of these kind of skinnier cushions are a little bit different. So on my roll lines, this is a little bit narrower and it fits really nicely into that pivot cup. So make sure, not pivot cup, into the truck. So make sure you put it the right way around. Well, I'm ready for tomorrow's practice, and I think that's just about all I have to say about cushions. You know, try swapping them out, make sure you put them the right way around. Otherwise, it's a pretty easy swap out. You get to learn your trucks a bit if you've never done it before. I do recommend it. Now, there are plenty of skaters that have skated longer than me and are better than me and have never even thought about changing their cushions. They buy their trucks, they just use whatever's in there. Maybe the skate shop decided for them what they probably wanted to wear. That's totally fine. If you're happy with your setup, don't change it. But it's cool to know how it works. Thanks so much for your time and learning more about roller derby. Can't wait to see you next time. Bye!
The science of derby, the science of derby. Let's learn something new.
Today we're going to talk about cushions. Not these cushions. These cushions.